I'm Natalie Brooks. The church hall in Waco smells like brisket and buttercream, sweet and smoky, under fairy lights that make the rented linens look softer than they are. The AC rattles above the folding chairs, and the stem of my wine glass is cool against my fingers. My brother's wedding reception hums with small town confidence. Boots scrape, bolo ties flash, and someone laughs like they are still on the bleachers. My father, Coach Mike Brooks, does not need a microphone, but one waits on the head table anyway. I know this room. I know the way a story can roll across it and stick to the person it lands on. I have learned how quiet can be a shield and how timing can be mercy. I did not learn that in a classroom. Dad taps a spoon to the crystal. The sound carries, light and sharp, and conversations settle like dust. He squares his shoulders the way he used to on Friday nights, and the crowd leans in without being asked. I raise my glass but do not drink. The wine is cheap and sweet, but my hand is steady. I feel the familiar lift in the air that comes before a storm, the pause that decides whether it will pass or break. My jaw loosens. My breath evens out. I am not here to win a room. I am here to decide how I hold myself inside it. Coach Mike clears his throat. He likes a stage, and this town is happy to build one for him out of folding tables and plastic forks. I keep my eyes on the cornflower print of the tablecloth and let the noise in my head go quiet. In the next breath, I have a choice. I can speak, or I can let the room hear itself. Dad loves a crowd. He can turn a living room into a locker room with nothing but a story and a grin. Give him a fork to tap, and he has a stage. Most of his best material is me. He polishes my teenage stumbles until they shine like trophies, then passes them around for laughs. He always starts with "bless her heart," and the room leans forward. Tyler never needs an intro. He was the golden quarterback, the arm that won Fridays and the smile that sold Saturdays. Grace is the peacemaker who reads a room faster than the weather. I am the one who is still figuring it out. That is how he introduces me, when he wants the punchline to land soft and still sting. People laugh because he does. Thanksgiving is his Super Bowl. He carves turkey like a general and tells stories between slices. The table holds cousins, neighbors, and the weight of tradition. He likes to retell the hurdle fall from his sophomore track. He spreads his hands and shows how I went down, face first, then he times the pause until someone snorts. I remember finishing the race, but the laugh never needs that part. Mom sits to his right with a tight smile that tries to soften the edges. She nudges a bowl my way or gives my knee a small touch under the table. Her eyes say sorry without a sound. Grace works the side lanes. She drifts in with a joke or a refill when the air gets heavy. Tyler takes the praise like it was waiting for him and throws me a look that says, "Take the joke." I learned the rules fast. Keep my face relaxed, let the heat in my chest cool, answer questions in 2 lines, and never give him a new story to use. The room rewards the kid who can laugh at herself. Dad says it is family ribbing. He says it keeps us humble. He says it with pride and calls me still figuring it out, like it is a mercy. I smiled on cue. I did it for years. While I was smiling, I was sharpening in silence. The track tryout landed on a windy Tuesday. I remember the rubbery smell of the lanes and the way the first hurdle looked smaller from far away. I hit it with my lead foot and kissed the asphalt before I knew I was falling. My knees burned through thin skin. A girl from chemistry class reached down, then pulled back when the whistle blew. I got up and finished last, chest on fire and eyes dry. By dinner, Dad had the story. He spread his hands like a sportscaster and paused for the laugh he knew would come. In his version, I never made it past the second hurdle. At school, no one cared by Friday. At home, the fall kept running. He told it at barbecues and church potlucks, adding a new flourish each time. My memory kept one detail he left out. I crossed the line. The science project came a month later. I had wired a board to light 3 bulbs in sequence. I carried it to the living room, like proof. Dad tapped the board without really looking. "Nice," he said. "But trophies look better on shelves." He nodded toward Tyler's medals like an exit sign. I carried the board back to my room. The bulbs flickered against the poster on my wall and then steadied. My stomach did not. I lay under the ceiling fan and listened to it, click on each turn. I told myself a simple thing I could keep. I would not be the punchline forever. The promise was small at first. I ran before sunrise, where no one watched. I did push-ups on the carpet and counted slowly. I checked out books on circuits and leadership and wrote notes in the margins. At the table, I learned a different skill. Smile when they laugh. Keep my hands loose. Answer short. Save the long answers for the empty page, where I could tell the truth. Shame was loud when I was 16. It cooled with practice and turned into something steadier. I grew a shell I could carry without hardening my heart. If you have ever swallowed a laugh that was meant to sting, you already know me. You know the fan at night. You know the quiet promise. You know how a small vow can change a life. The habit started small. I set my alarm before the sun and laced up in the dark. The track lights were off, so the white lines showed like bones. I ran the football field by memory. The dew soaked my socks and made the grass shine. My breath learned a new rhythm that did not care who watched. Back home, I dropped to the carpet. Push-ups on sore arms taught me a different kind of count. I stopped when the form failed, not when I got bored. After school, I took the quiet room at the library. Military history sat heavy on the shelf, so I carried it home. I underlined sentences about discipline and wrote questions in the margins. I did not tell Dad. I knew the sound of his laugh when he smelled a dream he did not understand. I kept this one where he could not reach it. On weekends, I ran routes around the empty bleachers. I timed myself with a kitchen timer and a cheap watch. I liked numbers that did not argue back. Mom noticed the miles on my shoes. She asked if I was okay, and I said I was getting stronger. She nodded like she believed me and left the door cracked at night. Grace figured it out first. She found the books under my bed and put them back without a word. She started slipping protein bars into my backpack with a wink. The recruiter's office was a strip mall, quiet. A flag in the corner hung still, and a printer hummed. Papers waited with neat lines for my name. He asked me why. I said I wanted to see what I could carry. I said I needed a place where effort counted. He asked if anyone in my family served. I shook my head and kept my eyes on the form. He slid a pen across the desk and let me take my time. I read every line. I thought about cold mornings and push-ups on carpet. I signed in a hand that did not shake. I did not make a speech at home. I packed a small bag and left a note that said I would be fine. I hugged Mom in the kitchen while the dishwasher ran and the house breathed slowly. Dad asked when I would get serious about a real plan. I said I had one and kept it simple. He nodded like he was already late for something else. The bus out of town smelled like vinyl and coffee. I watched the water tower slide by and let the noise in my head go quiet. I chose action over approval and did not look back. Reveille hit at 0500, and the floor was cold. We folded sheets tight enough to bounce a coin and lined up before the sun knew our names. The days taught my body to listen before it spoke. I learned that silence can be control. You breathe through the drill instructor's volume and keep your face steady. You save your voice for the moment it matters. We ran until the horizon felt closer. We cleaned rifles until the metal stopped squeaking. We memorized checklists until they lived in our hands. The first time I failed a timed event, no one yelled. I reset, looked at the clock, and tried again. The wind was quiet, and it held. Iraq in 2004 was heat and grit, and a map folded too many times. The noise came in spikes and then fell off like someone closed a door. The work was ready inside both. A Marine went down near a wall that threw back echoes. Training moved my hands before fear could. Pressure, breath, watch his eyes. Keep him here. We got him out. I wrote his name in a pocket notebook when the night turned still. The page felt heavier than paper. The sea taught a different patience. Long patrols in the South China Sea turned hours into lines on a chart. Radar shadows blinked on and off like thoughts you do not trust yet. I stood, watch with coffee gone cold and a pencil that left deep grooves. Small choices mattered more than speeches. You own the inch in front of you and protect everyone who stands on it. We shaped routes to avoid accidents that no one would ever read about. We tracked the weather that shifted without warning. We learned to say, copy and mean, I will take care of it. Joint work with the SEALs, put quiet people in the same room. No one tried to impress anyone. You carried weight, checked gear, and kept your word. Respect arrived in short sentences. Good work, Brooks. That was it, and it landed. Years passed in a stack of orders and evaluations. I learned to ask better questions and to listen harder. I learned that rank only amplifies what you already are. The promotions came like mile markers: ensign to lieutenant to commander to captain. Rear admiral, lower half, sat on my shoulder like a ledger. Not a prize. Each step meant more people to answer for. Emails at 0300, calls you return even when you would rather not, and decisions that live with you. Authority is heavy, but it should be. I kept the notebook. Names filled pages, some with notes about where we met, some with only a date. It reminded me of who the work was for. Home called on Sundays when schedules allowed. Dad would ask when I was coming back for Thanksgiving, then ask when I would get a real job. I learned to let that pass through me like wind through a field. I did not list medals on the phone. I asked how the team was doing and let him talk about Tyler. It was easier to be the daughter in those minutes and the officer the rest of the week. On a pier at dusk, I watched a ship ease out like a city in motion. The lines came off clear, and the water took the weight. Ball caps lifted, then hands dropped, and the day kept going. What I carried shifted from packs to people to places I would never visit again. The work made me steadier than I had been at 16. I grew into a voice I did not have to raise. Every room has its weather. Boot camp taught me that. The sea taught me to read it and act. I was not chasing revenge. I was building gravity. Applause rolls over the church hall like a marching band that forgot to stop. Tyler lifts his hand. The hometown quarterback turned groom, and the room gives him that old Friday night roar. Boots thump, glasses clink, and someone whistles near the cake. Dad eats it up. He claps Tyler on the back and grins at the bride like he coached this whole day. He lets the noise settle, then reaches for the microphone he does not need. He starts warm. Bless this couple. Bless this family. Proud of my boy. The crowd smiles because he gives them an easy cue. Then he pivots. He tilts his glass toward me and shifts his voice into the tone that says, a joke is coming. Biggest screw-up in the Brooks family. The laugh is fast and practiced. Old teammates slap the table. A cousin covers her mouth like that could hide it. And the deacon's wife looks down as if politeness might make it gentler. The sound hits my chest and slides off. I stay seated, jaw unclenched. The stem of my glass rests against my palm, and the ring it leaves on the tablecloth spreads like a slow bloom. Mom reaches for a napkin she does not need. Grace catches my eye and holds it for a beat. Dad keeps going because a crowd is fuel, and he knows how to burn it. He pulls out the hurdle story like a favorite play from the binder. He shows the fall with his hands and times the pause, so the laugh lands in the same place it always does. In my memory, I finish the race. In his version, I never do. The AC kicks hard and rattles for a second. Metal chairs scrape on wood and then stop. The smell of brisket hangs sweet under the lights. I breathe in slowly, then let it go. Silence is not surrender. It is a choice I trained for. When no one was watching, near the back, a man in dress whites rises a half-inch out of his chair. The fabric sits square on his shoulders, and the ribbons catch the lantern light. His eyes move from Dad to me, and steady there, Dad lifts his glass again, ready to wrap the insult in a bow and call it family fun. The room leans forward without knowing why. The man in whites clears his throat. He says one word that tilts the room. Wait. The word is not loud, but everything in the room leans toward it. Chairs stop moving like they were caught in the act. Commander Ethan Ward straightens to his full height. His dress whites look carved from light. His eyes do not leave mine. Aren't you Admiral B. Brooks? Forks freeze halfway to mouths. A spoon rests against a saucer and trembles once. The organist stops packing her hymnals. Dad tries to lull. GH, and it turns into a choke. Wine sprays in a thin arc and lands on the cornflower print. The stain blooms fast, a red star spreading. No one looks at him. They look at me. The air feels taller. I let the beat stretch. My chair legs murmur against the floor as I stand. My hand leaves the good luck, ass, and the heat fades from my palm. I do not clear my throat. I do not reach for the microphone. I do not list a single thing. Yes, I am. The syllables land clean. They do not ask permission. They do not explain. Ethan's chin lifts a fraction, the way respect looks when it fits the space. A veteran near the cake straightens without thinking. A cousin swallows and lowers her eyes. Dad's free hand goes flat on the tablecloth, pressing the stain like he could hold it still. His mouth opens and then closes on nothing. The room gives him nothing back. I breathe like I did on long watches at sea. Slow in, slow out. The noise finds the door. No one claps. No one needs to. The title carries its own weather. I keep my shoulders easy. I let the quiet do its work. The moment does not require more. I keep still. I do not reach for the microphone or for a speech I do not need. I let the hush do the heavy lifting. The room adjusts to the quiet. The AC hums and then settles, like a throat clearing and thinking better of it. Forks rest where they stopped. Mom's eyes shine in a way I have not seen since grade school. She covers it with a napkin touch that means I see you. Pride slips past the tight smile she wears at family events. The deacon's wife steps close enough to be heard without making a scene. I am sorry, she whispers, like she is setting something back where it belongs. She returns to her seat and keeps her head high. People who laughed a minute ago study the tablecloth. A cousin fingers her bracelet until it clicks and stops. One of Tyler's friends nods to himself like a puzzle has found its edge. I do not list medals or tours. I do not correct the old stories or explain the years that shaped me. The silence holds its line without raising its voice. Dad tries to catch the room with a grin that used to work. It slips when no one tosses it back. His hand stays on the stain as if pressure could pull the color out. I keep my posture easy. Shoulders down, chin level, hands open where everyone can see them. Breathing like I learned on long watches, slow and even. Across the hall, two veterans straighten by habit. They are not loud about it. Respect has a way of moving that does not need sound. Grace exhales like she has been waiting since we were kids. She gives me a small nod that lands heavier than applause. Tyler looks at his shoes and lets the moment pass through him. I feel the weight in the room shift to something steadier. The story we have lived by loses its place on the page. The room rewrites itself, and my father cannot read it. Ethan steps forward a pace and keeps his voice low. Ma'am, with your permission, may we offer proper honors? He waits for my nod and for the room to understand. I give the smallest yes with my eyes. He faces me and lifts his hand. The motion is clean and simple. Two older men at the back rise first. Their knees move carefully, but their spines remember. Their hands follow his. More veterans stand in quiet sequence. A sleeve brushes a chair and then stills. The room tightens into respect. Younger guests watch and copy what they can. Shoulders square, chinas lift. No one speaks. The air feels clear, like a window just opened. Even the AC seems to listen. I return the salute once. Nothing more than needed. Nothing less. I see Mom's hand on her chest. Grace exhales and holds steady. The bride presses her bouquet close without dropping her gaze. Dad does not move. His palm stays flat on the stained tablecloth, like he can keep the red from spreading. The glass near his hand is empty. The veterans hold for a breath and let their arms fall together. The sound is soft and final. Chairs accept their weight again. I do not add a speech. I do not chase the moment. I let it stand. Someone near the cake wipes a cheek and smiles at the floor. A cousin nods once, like he learned a new rule. The organist folds her last song and waits. I look at my father without heat. He called me a screw up. The world calls me Admiral. The line lands and does not echo. It does not need to. The room has already learned the answer. I turn to the head table and let my voice carry just enough. Congratulations to the bride and groom. May your home be kinder than any room we have ever stood in. The bride smiles like the lights found her again. Tyler squeezes her hand and laughs on a breath. The guests exhale and remember why they came. I lift my glass toward them, not toward the past. To love that grows spine and softens speech to a family that learns how to keep both. Dad clears his throat and reaches for the old rhythm. It was a joke, he says, like the word could mend the tablecloth. I set a plain truth down, where everyone can see it. It never was. Silence lands, smaller now, useful. No one needs a fight. The music finds a polite volume near the door. Mom touches my sleeve and lets her hand rest there. Her eyes look steady and bright, the way they used to before the stories took over. Thank you, she mouths, and I nod. Grace leans close as she passes and whispers thanks. She straightens a stack of plates that do not need straightening. Her smile holds, quiet and sure. I invite the room back to joy. Cake first, then dancing. Let the night belong to the couple, and let respect stay where we put it. If people have written you off, do not wait for them to hand you respect. Build it with small choices, steady work, and the courage to show up. Respect is not given, it is earned and kept. Tell me in the comments about the day you turned a screw-up label into strength. Share this with someone who needs a steady voice in their corner. He called me a screw-up. The world calls me Admiral.